All right, friends, so we're going to read pages 29 to 32, and we're going to be thinking about what wrongdoings did Marion go through. How is Marion's life different when she was in Europe than it was when she was in America? So let's go ahead and read. Marion still wanted to advance her singing with master teachers. With the help of friends, she was granted an audition with the fierce yet famous Giuseppe Bugatti. When she arrived at his studio, Mr. Brigatti announced that he didn't have time or room for new students. Too afraid even to look at him, Marion took a deep breath. Slowly, with a great emotion, she sang, "Deep river, my home is over Jordan. Deep river, Lord, I want to cross over into campground. Don't you want to go to that gospel feast, that promised land where all is peace? Oh, deep river, Lord, I want to cross over into campground." Marian finally lifted her eyes. "I will make room for you right away," Mr. Brigatti said firmly, "and I will need only 2 years with you. After that, you will be able to go anywhere and sing for anybody." Again, Marian's devoted church community raised the money for her lessons. Marian worked hard with Mr. Brigatti, and sometimes for practice she sang scenes from Italian operas with him. Her recitals now included German songs too, but other languages troubled her. She didn't want simply to sing beautiful words like Dunkel wie Dunkel in Wald und Fied. She wanted to know what the words meant. Dark, how dark in the woods and the fields. Other Negro singers had gone overseas to develop their voices and learn foreign languages. Why not her? After all, Europe was different. There, she would be able to sing to mixed audiences and travel without restrictions put on her by people in America. Marian needed to grow, and Mother agreed. A bundle of trepidation and excitement, Marian boarded the Tide de France in October 1927. She had never been so far from her family. She knew her sisters would take good care of Mother, but still she already felt twingles of homesickness. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long ways from home, a long ways from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone, a long ways from home, a long ways from home. Marian studied and eventually invited to perform in concert halls in Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. The enthusiasm for her singing was so overwhelming that one newspaper in Sweden called it Marian fever. Audiences applauded in London, cheered in Paris, and pounded on the stage for encores in Russia. In Austria, the world-famous conductor Arturo Toscani announced that he had heard one was privileged to hear only once in 100 years. So in Europe, they welcomed Marian more than they did when she was in America. Marian felt as if she had finally achieved some success. She even asked Mother if there was anything that would make her happy, because now Marian could afford to buy it for her. Marian said that all she wanted was for God to hold Marian in the highest of his hands. It seemed like she was already there. Mr. Bugatti had been right. She could go anywhere and sing for anyone until she came home to the United States. In 1939, Howard University in Washington, D.C., booked a concert with Marian Anderson and began looking for an auditorium big enough to hold the audience she attracted. They decided that the 4,000-seat Constitution Hall would be perfect, but the manager of the hall said it wasn't available and no other dates were offered because of their white performers only policy. Marian's agent, Sol Harak, wrote to the hall manager pointing out that Marian Anderson was one of the greatest living singers of our time. But it did no good. So in Europe, she sang in all of these big halls, right? And all of these grand places, and nobody said that she couldn't sing there. But when she came to America, they wouldn't even let her perform in a smaller auditorium. Enraged fans wrote letters to the newspaper in protest. Eleanor Roosevelt, the First Lady of the United States, resigned from that organization that sponsored Constitution Hall. Howard University then tried to reserve a large high school auditorium from an all-white school. Again, they were denied. Now, teachers were angry and marched in support of Marian in front of the Board of Education. Washington, D.C. was a boiling pot about to spill over. Wasn't there some place in her own country's capital where Marian Anderson's voice could be heard? Committees formed and held meetings. Finally, with President Roosevelt's approval, the Department of the Interior of the United States government invited Marion to sing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial on Easter Sunday. Her country was offering her a momentous invitation, but she had concerns. Would people protest? Was it dangerous? Would anyone come? Examining her heart, Marion realized that although she was a singer first and foremost, she also had become a symbol to her people, and she wanted to make it easier for those who would follow her. She said yes. Standing in the shadow of the statue of Lincoln, waiting to be called out, she read the engraved words, "This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom." Marion looked out at the river of 75,000 people. Her heart beat wildly. Would she be able to utter one note? She took a deep breath and felt the power of her audience's goodwill surge toward her. Marion's sisters were there, and mother too. Marion stood straight and tall. Then she closed her eyes and sang, "My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, let freedom ring." A roaring cheer followed every song at the end of the program. The people pleaded for more. When she began her thought-provoking encore, "Oh, nobody knows the trouble I see. Nobody knows my sorrow." Silence settled in the multitudes. There are the people watching her. For almost 16 years after the Lincoln Memorial performance, Marion sang for kings and queens, presidents and prime ministers, famous composers and conductors. She received medals, awards, and honorary degrees for her magnificent voice. But there was still one place Marion had not sung. When she was finally invited, a dream came true. Marion wondered how people would react. No Negro singer had ever done such a thing. She would be the first, but she didn't need to worry. After she signed the contract, someone said, "Welcome home." On opening night, excitement charged the air. As Marion waited in the wings, the orchestra began. Her stomach fluttered. She walked onto the grand stage. Trembling, she straightened her costume and waited for the pounding music she knew to be her cue. Tonight was her debut with the Metropolitan Opera. At long last, she had reached the sun and the moon. The curtains parted, and Marion sang. All right, so I'm going to see you in the next section where I'm going to talk about the skill we are reviewing today, and I'm going to model for you how we will answer our TDQs and our exit ticket. I'll see you in the next section.